Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Steven's going to be teaching you how to play Let It Be. So first off, I've got to give big props to Steven for writing a great arrangement of a great tune, and I got a chance to play through it this afternoon, and I've got to say that it's going to be perfect for the advanced player, but I'd also venture to say if you're at that seasoned intermediate transitioning to the advanced level, you should give it a go too. Because what makes this piece great for that level is that it is an intricate arrangement in that it tastefully blends harmony, which is the chords, with the melody. So you get a little bit more of a complex fingerstyle / finger picking piece. So if you're wanting to work on something a little bit more challenging and kind of take your fingerstyle playing to that next level, jump into this tune. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the lesson. So in this video, Steven's going to teach you how to play the first half of the tune. But if you want to learn the second half, you can watch that part 2 lesson, which teaches it at this link right here, or you can go to the site, rockclass101.com, and do a search for Let It Be. Now also on that page will be the tabs that you can print off to follow along with, plus the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a great feature where you can hit play, you can watch that tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish, just a great asset in learning this song that much easier. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Steven to teach you how to play this, and then I'll see you at the end of the video.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this lesson on the classic Beatles tune Let It Be. And I say classic Beatles tune, but I suppose if we're honest, kind of all Beatles tunes are classics really, aren't they? But either way, it's certainly one of their best known songs, and it's a great tune. But before we get stuck into it, I just want to mention something about some of the rhythms that we're going to be playing in some of these measures. This vocal melody for this tune is really highly syncopated. Now I'm sure Andrew's mentioned all this already and explained all of this, but basically none of the sort of vocal melodies seem to fall on the beat. In fact, when I listened to the original and really studied it to prepare for this arrangement, I think John Lennon was scared of the beat in this song because he does everything he possibly can to sing anywhere else other than the beat. So it's a really highly syncopated melody. Now, if I tried to strip all of that syncopation out and get rid of all of it, it just wouldn't be Let It Be. You know, you'd recognise it, but it just wouldn't be the same song. So some of that syncopation is still in there. I have reduced it quite a bit, but some of the rhythms are still a little bit strange. So my best tip really for this piece would be really just to kind of play it by ear, if I'm honest with you. When I play this, I don't try and count these rhythms because some of them are just so freaky that I think it confuses you more when you try and count them. I would certainly play it by feel. Go for that if you can sing it, you can play it approach. And I think if you do that, you'll be absolutely fine with it. I'd probably just go measure by measure, listen to it really slowly and kind of just play along with what I'm doing. Just copy me and play it very much more by ear and by feel. Okay, so that's enough words from me. Let's get stuck into learning this tune. So this one is just in 4/4 time, so we have our 4 quarter notes to the bar. It's in the key of C major, and the tempo we're going for is somewhere around about sort of 60 to 65 BPM, which is slower than the original recording of this tune, but I think when we play kind of solo instrumental work, sometimes it works better just to slow things down a little bit, just to allow kind of the melody and the arrangement space to breathe as we're playing it. So if we look at the first 4 measures of this piece then, these make up the intro, the A section. If we look at just measures 1 and 2, first of all, they should sound like this. Okay, so these are quite straightforward rhythmically. We're just playing all 8th notes here, and the pattern is this kind of repeating picking pattern. What we're doing is on the beat, we're playing 3 strings together, the A, the E and the C, and then on the off beats, on the ands, we're just playing the G string of that chord played with the thumb. Okay, so if we look at the first half of measure 1, we're just doing that pattern I've explained there over a C chord. So we'll hold the C chord, 3rd finger probably taking that A string at the 3rd, pick those 3 strings together, and then the G, and then do that again. That's the first half. Then the second half of this measure, we just change into a G chord and doing that same thing again. Okay, so that measure 1. Brill. Then into measure 2, we're doing the same pattern, the same 3 strings, then G string, but now we're doing it over an A minor chord. So I'd probably use the second finger to play the the G string at the 2nd fret, this A note, because it'll make it easier then to play the F major 7 chord that we have coming up. So what we'll do, same pattern, 3 strings together, A, E and C, then the G string, then those 3 strings again. Now we are going to hit the G string, but this time we're going to open up that G string, so we're going to take that second finger off, and then on the and after beat 2, just play that open. So the first half of that measure again is just, that's what we're going for. Then that takes us into this F major 7 chord, which is just like an F chord, but we're adding the pinky on here, the C string at the 4th fret, adding that on, but then playing those 3 strings together, then the G string, but now we're going to drop this C string at the 4th down to the 2nd fret, so we'll put the 3rd finger on, C string at the 2nd, pinky comes off. We're essentially holding a D minor chord there now, same picking pattern to finish off that measure. So that measure 2 once again. That's what we're going for. So the 2 measures through together. Smashing. So let's have a go at playing those 2 measures through together now. 3 and 4 and. So measures 3 and 4 now, they should sound like this. And those last 2 notes there that you just heard, those 2 G notes, are the first 2 notes of the vocal melody, which then leads into the verse, which we'll look at shortly. That's the when I find myself in, but we'll get to that shortly. So if we look at measure 3, that is just the same as measure 1. So just that C and G chord, exactly the same, but then now in measure 4, we're going to break that 8th note rhythm slightly. What we're going to play is 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and a. Okay, so a little change there, it's not too bad. So beat 1 is this F chord, but we don't need the full F chord, so the 2nd finger we'll just leave off. We'll just play the E string at the 1st with the 1st finger. Same picking pattern, 3 notes together or 3 strings together on beat 1, but now let that ring for a full quarter note. And then on beat 2, we're going to play this double stop of E string at the 3rd, so just move this finger up 2 frets to the 3rd fret, add the 2nd finger onto the C string at the 4th, and then play those 2 strings, the E and the C, together, that double stop there. Then the and after beat 2, which is going to play the same double stop, but down 2 frets, so just move those fingers down to frets 1 and 2, pick those 2 strings, and then on beat 3, same 2 strings again, but now open. So take both fingers off, and just play that double stop there. Then these next 2 8th notes, the and after beat 3 and beat 4, are just kind of little ghost notes, just little quiet taps of the G string. They're just really to keep the rhythm going and keep it flowing, but we don't want to hear them too loud. They're more for you really as the player, just to kind of keep that rhythm going in your head. Before we get into these last 2 16th notes, these G notes, the E string at the 3rd fret, pick those a little bit louder now because they're melody notes. They're going to take us into the verse section. So just that measure 4 again, played slowly, would be. Okay, so measures 3 and 4 together. Brilliant. So let's have a go at playing those 2 measures through together now. 3 and 4 and. So onto the B section now, the first verse. If we look at the first 2 measures of this section, measures 5 and 6, they should sound like this. Okay, Okay, now rhythmically, these two measures are horrible. They're absolutely awful. They're very, very hard rhythms to count, which is where we're going to start doing this kind of, if you can sing it, you can play it, kind of play it by ear, play it by feel. Because if you listen to just that first measure of this section, measure 5, hopefully you can hear the vocal melody in there. Find myself in times of trouble. So, although rhythmically that's hard and it's very syncopated, if we just forget about the rhythm and forget about the syncopation and just play that, what I've just played, play it by ear, then I think we can't go far wrong. So, if we start with beat 1, we're playing this C6 chord, so we're playing the E string at the 3rd fret with the 3rd finger, with the open C and the open G, pick those 3 strings together. And then we're going to hit that E string at the 3rd on its own, there's a single pick. Then we're going to go to the A open. Okay, and then the next note is this open C, but this is just a little filler note. We want to play it quite quietly. We don't want to hear this too loud. So pick that quietly. And then the next note is this open E, which is melody, so we'll pick that a little bit louder. Okay. And then we're going to come to this G5 chord, which is like a G, but we just haven't got the A string on because we don't need it. So we just play the C string at the 2nd and the E string at the 3rd, play that double stop, and then just pick that E string on its own once more. And then we're going to add the pinky onto the A string at the 3rd, pick that single note, and then slide up to the 5th fret. And as we do that, we can take off the rest of this G5 chord that we've been holding. So as we pick it, the rest of the fingers come off and we slide up, okay? And we want to hear that A string at the 3rd first, so don't sort of pick it and slide straight up. Pick it so we can hear that and then slide up. So it's not a linger a little bit. So we hear the 3rd fret, then the 5th fret. And that's that trouble part of the vocal melody. And then finish off that measure, we've got this little G string tap, just a little filler note straight after. So really slowly, that measure is... Okay. And then if we go into measure 6, we're going to keep that 4th finger on, the pinky, we're going to keep the pressure on, because just after we've done that little G string tap at the end of measure 5, just after that, we're going to slide that up to the 7th fret, but we're going to hear that slide sound. If I play that measure again with that extra slide, it'll sound like this. And you hear that extra slide. So it's almost like a kind of hidden 16th note there. After that G string open tap, we just slide up so it's in place ready to then play the first beat of measure 6, which is this A minor chord, which is just like a normal A minor chord, but obviously keeping that pinky on at the 7th fret. So a bit of a stretch there. 2nd to 7th, bit of a stretch, but practice that, you should be okay with that one. And then we're going to play all 4 strings together. And I tend to pick those, but you could strum through them, whatever you prefer to do there. So we're basically going to play 3 7th fret A string notes quite quickly. The first one is part of that full chord pick or strum, then play it twice more. So we're playing it 3 times in total, like that. And then we're going to pick the A string at the 2nd with the thumb. And that's just a little filler note, so quite quiet. Then the open E string, another little filler note, quite quiet. And then I'm going to bring this down to the 5th fret. And we'll use the 4th finger for that because we're going to use the 1st finger on the E string at the 1st fret momentarily, so that is still quite stretched there. So we use the 4th finger, so just bring it down. So from the beginning of measure 6, that's what we're doing. And then beat 3 there, we're going to then play that chord I was just showing you. So this is now an F suspended to add 13 apparently, but just go with this, go with what you can see here. 4th finger on the A string at the 5th, E string at the 1st with the 1st finger, other 2 strings open and play all 4 strings on that beat 3 there. Then I'm going to drop this down to the 3rd fret on the A string, so the 3rd finger will take that. I'm going to play that note twice. there. And then a couple of filler notes to finish off. So these are quite quiet. Open G with a thumb, E string at the first. Pick that note there, quite quiet. So just that measure 6. Okay. And again, rhythmically, it's quite difficult. 1, E and 2, E and 3 and a 4 and. I think counting that is really, really hard. So just go with playing it by ear. Go slowly. And just play along with me, keep playing it, play it again and again, just keep doing each measure until it's in your head. It might come quite quickly, this rhythm, it might be quite natural to you, it might take a bit of practice, but either way, just keep playing it by ear, keep playing it, keep singing it in your head as you're playing it, and I think the rhythm will come quite quickly. Okay, so there's 2 measures once more, measures 5 and 6. So let's have a go at playing those 2 measures through together, nice and slowly now. 3 and 4 and. So on to measures 7 and 8 now, they should sound like this. Okay, so again, measure 7, rhythmically quite challenging, but we'll do the whole sing it, you can play it, and then measure 8 is a bit more rhythmically sort of straightforward. But if we look at measure 7 first of all, so we are on this A string at the 7th, and let's have a look at where we were at the end of measure 6. We were on this chord here, weren't we? Yep, so I'd probably so keep this 3rd finger on the A string at the 3rd fret. I'm just going to move that up to the 7th fret, ready for this measure 7. Okay, so we're going to play the E, the C, and the A string at the 7th, and then play the 7th again, and then a little G string tap, a little rhythmic quiet filler note, almost like a ghost note, just to keep the rhythm going. And then we're going to play the A string at the 8th, but we're going to use the 4th finger for that. We're going to use the pinky, so add that on there. Single note pick. And then bring that pinky down. It's quite important now that you do use the pinky here. So don't go back to the 3rd, bring the pinky down a fret to the 7th fret. Play that note twice. Okay, but it is important you use that finger because we're now going to use these 2 fingers to complete this G chord by putting them on the same fret, the 7th fret, on the E string and the C string. Okay, so we've played the 8th, down to the 7th, and then quite quickly after that, we just play that little kind of bit of harmony there, that chord, that G chord on beat 3 there, before then taking the melody down to the 5th fret. So keeping those fingers on, the 1st finger is going to take the A string at the 5th and the pinky is going to come off. So we're now holding that kind of standard G chord in this position here. So pick that A string at the 5th, single note pick, then onto the open G, little rhythmic quiet tap, and then the next note, the 7th fret, still a G note, but the 7th fret at the the C string 7th fret, quiet pick there again, and then keeping this shape on, we're going to put the pinky back onto the 7th fret on the A string, we're going to pick it, and then pull off onto that A string behind. So keep that 1st finger on, because that's going to receive the pull off from that pinky there. So just that measure again, measure 7 quite slowly. So yeah, quite tricky rhythmically, but just again, keep playing it again and again, listen to it slowly, and hopefully that rhythm will become quite clear. Okay, so then into measure 8, we're going to take the same shape that we're holding here, this G shape, but we're going to move it down 2 frets, so it becomes a kind of F type shape, and then we're going to play those 3 strings, the C, the E, and the A, but we'll want to put the pinky on here onto the A string at the 5th. So we're essentially playing those 3 strings all at the 5th fret, but we're holding them with these 3 fingers. So we pick all 3 strings, but then we're going to pull that off. So make sure the first finger is on the A string at the 3rd fret. That's why we just move the whole shape down as it is 2 frets. So that's there ready to receive the pull off, because after we've played those 3 strings at the 5th fret, that pinky's going to pull off onto the 3rd fret there. And then straight after, do an open G string rhythmic quiet tap. That's what we're going for. So from measure 7 into just that first part of measure 8. Okay, that's what we've got there. And then to finish off this measure 8, we're just doing that same sort of descending double stop walk down that we did at the end of the intro. Okay, so from here, from this F shape, we're just going to drop this finger down a fret to the 4th fret. This one will come off. First finger will jump over onto the E string at the 3rd, and then we just play those 3 double stops just like at the end of the intro. And then just to kind of keep the rhythm going, we're just going to play on 8th notes 3 little quiet G string taps, just to keep the rhythm going before we move into measure 9. Okay, so measure 7 and 8 once again would sound like this. Okay, so let's have a go at playing those 2 measures through together now. 3 and 4 and. So on to measures 9 and 10 now. They should sound like this. Okay, so once again, measure 9 is rhythmically horrible, so we will forget about the rhythm and we'll just play this one again by ear. So just this measure 9. Okay, so what's going on there? So we're starting with this C6 chord, so the open C string played with the E string at the 3rd. We'll use the 3rd finger there for that. So just play that double stop. Then play that E string at the 3rd again, single note pick. And then straight after that, play the open A. Okay, so the first 3 notes there. And then we're going to play the A string at the 3rd fret. So we'll keep this 3rd finger on, but we'll add the pinky onto the A string at the 3rd and pick that note. Let that ring. And then we're going to play the open G with the thumb, but a little quiet filler note there, just a little rhythmic tap on that G string. And then we'll keep those 2 fingers on, and then on beat 3, we'll hit this G5 chord, so we'll just add the first finger onto the C string at the 2nd and play the C string and the E string together. And then play that E string again, an 8th note later. And then we're going to play this A string at the 3rd. These 2 will come off. This is a bit like the end of a previous measure we've looked at, measure 5. So then we're going to pick that A string at the 3rd and slide it up to the 5th. Followed by that G string open ghost note there at the end of that measure. So once again, slowly that measure is. Okay, and then into measure 10, this is identical now to measure 6. So we'll not look at that again because we've learnt that one, so we just play that just like before. So let's have a go at just playing measures 9 and 10 through together now. 3 and 4 and. On to measures 11 and 12 now, they should sound like this. Okay, so hopefully most of that sounded familiar, and that's because it is, because measure 11 is identical to measure 7. And then measure 12 is mostly identical to measure 8. up to that point there. So instead of playing 2 more G string taps like we did in measure 8, we just finish off this measure 12, these last few notes, 4, E and. We're playing the A string at the 7th with the pinky, put the second finger onto the A string 5th behind it, because we're going to pull that off onto the 5th fret. So that's the first 2 notes, and then just finish with a G string open, quiet tap. That's what we're going for. So just measure 12. Without all the buzzing. That's better. So let's have a go at playing measures 11 and 12 through together now. 3 and 4 and. So onto this C section now, the first chorus. This is 4 measures in total, but actually the second 2 measures are identical to measures that we've learned previously. So really we've only got to learn these first 2 measures and then we can play the whole thing. So if I play the chorus for you, all 4 measures together, it should sound something like this. Okay, so if we just look at measure 13 on its own, that should sound like this. I've played that a little bit slower for you. Okay, this is quite a tricky measure, but it's quite nice when you can play it. It flows really nicely. So if we look at beat 1, we're playing this A minor 7 chord, so all 4 strings together. And again, with the right hand, you can kind of do what you want really, but I tend to strum through that chord on beat 1. And then the and after beat 1, just one of those gentle, quiet G note taps with the thumb. And then on beat 2, we're going to lead into this octave slide. So from the A minor 7 chord, we want to be holding the A string at the 7th and the C string at the 4th. We'll use the first finger for that. Now really, and it wouldn't matter if you don't do this, which I'll explain more in a minute, but really we want to mute the E string and the G string so we can't hear them. So we can kind of strum through this chord. Now you could just pick those notes and that would work. But I like to strum through all 4 strings. So if I'm muting the G and the E strings, yeah, G and the E, I can do a strum through all 4, and we're only hearing the octave, the C string and the A string, but I don't know, kind of hearing those muted strings within that strum. I quite like the sound of that. So the way to do that is, rather than kind of looping this first finger over like we'd normally do so that we're not muting other strings, we actually do want to mute them now. So what we'll do is, rather than using the tip of the first finger, use more of the pad of the first finger, so kind of like a lazy fretting if you like, and then have it so that the top of the finger, the tip of the first finger there, is just touching the G string, so that'll mute that one. And then rather than looping it over, bring the wrist back a little bit so that the rest of the pad of the first finger just rests gently on the E string. Not enough, not like a bar, we're not fretting that E string, we're just letting the flesh of the first finger, the skin there, just touch that string. So essentially we're fretting the C string, but we're touching the G string with the top of the finger and touching the E string with the base of the pad there. So that first finger is fretting the C and muting both of those at the same time. So the first finger's doing all the work, and then the little finger there, the pinky, is just on the A string at the 7th. Then we can strum through all 4 strings and then slide up 3 frets from the 4th and the 7th to the 7th and 10th. Okay, if you can't do that kind of muting the strings, or you don't want to worry about that, you could just pick the 2 notes. And then we haven't got to worry about all that fretting, but you have a play around with that and do it however you want. Okay, so once we've played that first bit, we do this kind of muted up-down strum. Now the way I do this is I use the thumb to do the down strum. So while still holding this kind of octave, I'll probably let the G string ring. This isn't shown on the tab if you have the tab printed out, but when you come down and do this kind of muted strum with the thumb, if you hit that open G, that would be fine. And in fact, I do that, I think, when I play it, when I listen back to my own playing, and then do an up strum with the index finger, which all sounds very complicated, but if I play just that first bit really slowly, we would have... Okay, so strum, G, octave slide, up, down, down, up. Sorry, confusing you. Okay, so that time I hit that G string, you heard it. The time before you didn't. It doesn't really matter if you mute all 4 strings or you catch that open G, it makes no difference. It's all just part of the effect. Okay, so once we've done that, we're then going to move into this G chord on beat 3. So we've played there 1 and 2 E and A. 1 and 2 E and A. Okay, then on beat 3, we're playing this G here. So we're kind of in position when we're playing this kind of octave slide. This is almost the shape that we want. Close enough, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this first finger to bar across the 7th, leaving the G string open, and then the pinky's going to move up to the 12th fret there. Okay, and play all 4 strings again. Again, I tend to do a strum of that chord. Okay, so if we add that one on now, we have got Brill, and then we're going to play this open G string just to fill in that space. And then we're going to bring the pinky down 2 frets to the 10th fret, and again strum through all of that. So we're keeping that first finger, bar in the 7th. Okay, and this is all 16th notes now, so 4 E and A. So that's beat 4. Straight after, pick that 10th fret again, single note, but then pull off onto the 7th fret. So make sure the first finger bar is including that A string, because we're going to pull that pinky off onto that A string. And then we're going to put the pinky back onto the 10th fret on the E string now and pick that note to finish off. So just that last little section of 16th notes there, 4 E and A, was... There we go, 3rd time lucky. One more for good measure. So just that measure once again. Okay, really fun measure actually once you can play it. I really like that one, quite dynamic I think. So once again, really slowly. Brill. Okay, so then into measure 14 now, we're going to go to this F chord. So we're going to do a full 5th fret bar all the way across. So that kind of bar across the 7th or 3/4 bar will turn into a full bar there across the 5th. And then on beat 1, we're going to play the E, C and G, all the 5th fret, so pick those 3 strings together on beat 1. Then the and after beat 1, hit that G string at the 5th, once again, then hit the E string at the 5th on beat 2. And then we've got this little run of 16th notes here. So what we're going to do then is add the 3rd finger onto the C string at the 7th and pick that. As we pick that, take this bar off, because we then want to play the open E. Leave the 3rd finger on so it's ringing, but after we've picked it, bar comes off, then pick the open E. Okay, so just up to that point there. So just as we play the C string 7th, bar off, open E, and then we play the A string at the 7th, so the pinky comes on there, and we pick that note there. Okay, so that open E that we played is just a little filler note, so we'll play that a little bit quieter. All the rest was melody. Okay, so a little quiet A string open. In fact, if we look at this measure, all the open strings that we're playing are all filler notes. Only the fretted notes are melody, all the little open notes are filler, which is the rest of this measure now. So after we've played that A string 7th, we just play these 4 quiet 8th notes, G string open, take that finger off, C string open, E string open, and then back to G string open. Nice and quiet, just to complete that measure. So just that measure 14 again. Nice, so I'll play it a little bit slower. Okay, so let's have a go at playing measures 13 and 14 through together now. 3 and 4 and. So if I play the chorus for you all 4 measures together, it should sound something like this.
Alright guys, so this week's ukulele lesson was a ton of fun. This is a classic Beatles tune and Stephen did a great job arranging it for the ukulele. So at this point you guys have learned the first half of the tune. If you want to learn the rest of the song, you can do so by clicking this link right here or going to the site rockclass101.com and doing a search for Let It Be. Now also on that page will be the tabs that you can print off, keep for your records, plus the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. So you can literally hit play, you can watch that tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars, the loop section, slow it down to any speed, all that fun jazz that makes learning this tune that much easier. Alright guys, so again, I hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you in the part 2 lesson, and until then, take care and have a good rest of your day.